Welcome to this Mastery Empowerment course from New Earth One Network. This is designed exclusively for your higher self connection and embodiment. Welcome to this Mastery Empowerment course. We are exploring our expression of light language. This is divine code, divine expression through our physical beingness. My guest today is a powerful sound healer and a light language activator who's here to activate you to these divine gifts. Jen Cunnings is with us, and we're so pleased to have you. Thank you, Jen. Welcome.
Thank you, Loren. I'm so happy to be here.
So let's talk about your own personal journey before we start, because that is what makes you a beautiful guide on this alchemy and this light language healing that we are about to explore. What was your own journey like as you began to speak light language?
Sure. Well, I was initially, I still am, been working with energy and doing sessions and coaching for, several years now. And I had heard of light language. I had experienced it through other people, and was interested in exploring that, but just it hadn't ever come through. And so actually, one night I was sitting outside on my patio with my husband and we were listening to music, and my hands started moving. I started doing these weird mudras. They were dancing essentially. And so I was telling my husband, I'm like, I am not doing this to my hands right now. And I had, been familiar enough with light language coming through in many different forms, not just verbally. So I had the awareness. And so I just began playing with it. I would drive and my hands were moving so much, my fingers would get sore. And then it was shortly after that, I just started playing with the sound and toning or singing, making honestly some odd noises and sounds. And it was actually through practice where I really just got out of my own way. And then the light language started to come in, and it's evolved quite a bit in the past few years since it came through. Whereas it's almost like there's different languages that come through, like depending on what intention I have or who I'm directing it towards. So, but I've watched it evolve, and now it's also kind of woven its way into sound healing with tone. So when I'm in a space of allowance and just letting it all come through, it might come out as light language. it might come out as mudras or the hands dancing, um, or it might come out in song or tones. And so it's kind of like a free for all. And I really believe that we all have this ability. It's a way of communication through our divine self, where we're not, in our ego, we're not in our minds, we're not, getting in the way. And so I've played with it in lots of different forms. And as I was sharing with you earlier, when I really began to share it, I was scared to death. Like, this is so weird. And so at the time, I had an office with a small classroom, and I had said to myself, I just have to like jump off the cliff and do this. Like, this isn't something that I'm supposed to keep for myself. And so I put a weekly healing circle, and I had my sound bowls and I said, come enjoy some sound bowls with some light language. And I just put it out there. And sure enough, people came and they're like, well, we don't know what this is. Like, because we're in Dallas, Texas. We're, it's a little more of a conservative region. And they just kept coming. And then ultimately, I realized that I was an activator of light language in other people, because they all started speaking light language. And so it just became this beautiful, this sharing to witness. And just like me, people would light language through their body, their hands. One of my colleagues does it more through her art and her drawing. So I'm sure you've seen people draw these really elaborate, intricate symbols. I don't do as much as that. I do have some symbols, but more like in painting. And so I believe it's just this beautiful expression of our infinite being that we can allow to come through, and we can apply it to ourselves, and we can share it with others. And it can have profound healing. It can have profound shifts in how we feel, how we, like I have a couple stories I can share, but when we are bringing through these unique codes that are specifically directed, like we can focus them, and they can have impact in many different ways. So that's my story.
That's beautiful because they are unique codes. And I want to just extend what you were talking about as the group doing this on a group level with the intention of healing places on the planet, groups of beings, animals, the earth herself. Maybe this light language will help us transition through some of the bigger environmental issues that we feel pain us or cause us a heavy heart. Instead of looking at the pain, we can use this light language on a group level to perhaps bring in the alternative vision for humanity to hold, so that real solutions come about on our earth. You just initiated that or activated that vision within me as you were talking there.
Oh, I love that so much. And how I have applied that is a lot with the waters, and encoding the waters with the sound or the symbols. Whereas, in envisioning that spreading through the earth and creating, the crystalline higher vibration grid throughout the whole planet. And it's really like, what are we called to bring our attention and our service work to? And it's like the intention plus the sound or the light language. It can be both or either or. It like magnifies, the outcome, right? We all know thoughts create. We all know that our intentions are very powerful, and we're also very powerful manifestors. And then you layer that with the sound and the codes, and it's like, it turns the volume up. Right. And so the intentions that we are putting out there with the earth, with the universe, with the ascension, it can all be, given this really powerful foundation to make the changes that that are happening. and then we
Yeah.
can be focused with it and intentional with it.
Yes, all right. You are going to do a session here in a moment that will help awaken the light language abilities of all of our viewers and listeners. That's really exciting. I wanted to say a little bit about what you spoke of, and these are the key ingredients: allowance, getting out of your own way,
Right.
and again, the various methods of allowing the expression of the light language. I wanted to ask you more specifically, what year was it when you were sitting with the music and doing the hand mudras? About?
Like 3 years ago, maybe 4. Yeah.
Okay. We have seen this skill awakening in so many.
Yes.
And that's the beautiful thing about it, where it used to be called speaking in tongues, and maybe it
Right.
was frowned upon, but it really is a divine essence. And we're learning that it's multi-dimensional and it's universal and it's multiversal. And
Yes.
as you shared that it sounded like you said new languages coming through. Would you feel that when you're speaking light language, do you ever feel a higher being or a presence?
Absolutely. And it'll shift again depending on who or what I'm directing it towards. So I've held groups. I've done this for individuals. For the one that stands out is there's a gentleman here who's just this fantastic artist and creates these really high frequency pieces with all this sacred geometry, and he feels very galactic to me. So he came to one of the healing circles once, and it was like just this whole like download of really fast clipped, you know, sounds and languages and noises that I had, and I haven't expressed it that way before or after. Like it was for him and him only. And, and so a lot of times I don't know who I'm channeling. Somebody who is also very expressive in the light language felt like I was channeling the Elohim, and that sounded a certain way. And I've had other people give me feedback that they felt a lot of like divine feminine energy or like a Mother Mary come through. And then other times it can feel very like Native American shaman, like deep, especially if I play along with the drum. And so, just like any kind of channeling, it's really like the intention of, creating this space to bring in whatever is going to be optimal for myself or whoever I'm sharing it with, and just allowing that container to be, of the highest benefit. And so I don't ever feel like I have this one like light language guide who comes in. I just feel like I like a lot of variety. So I think they all just kind of come in depending on what the situation is.
Yes, they're lining up to be ready for your interpretation and your expression. All right, beautiful. So as we hear, I know that some are ready to hear the light language or to see anything that you do with your mudras. Does that come in the activation that you'll do?
Once you get the activation, what to do with that, and how, because one of the things is I'm still in recovery control freak. And so if we're in control and our mind's trying to figure it out and to, force or give some sort of, how, like I would say like a masculine energy, then we get in our own way. And so with the activation, and frankly, the activation is to help turn on what's already inherently within you, because we all have this. And so it's kind of unlocking some of the keys, because we all have this gift. It's inherent in our nature. But again, it's just the practice of the allowance. So I thought maybe let's go ahead and do the activation. And and then we'll see where we land. And maybe I'll have a little meditation to include with that in case the viewers want to participate towards the end. And then I'll give you guys some ideas in how to continue to play with this.
Beautiful. We get to have the activation, which is hearing your expression of light language and so much more. So let's do that now, and then we can come back and talk some more.
Okay. So if you're listening to this now, or whenever you are listening to it, I would recommend to find a space where you can just allow yourself to sit back and receive. And with all energy exchanges, we're always creating this beautiful sacred container for ourselves where we are in alignment with our divine self, and any and all energies that are out of resonance or not going to be a contribution to you today, we just let those float away. And this is always dedicated to what is in perfect alignment with your divine path, and all in a heart-centered space. If you would like to, as I'm bringing through the light language and the sound, to vocalize as we go through this, feel free, because this is all about you opening up, and we're unlocking keys and codes, and we're clearing the pathways so that you can be a clear conduit of these frequencies, of the multidimensional energy waves that will express themselves through the light language. And I would also be open to this flowing through you in a way that maybe you didn't expect. Maybe your hands move, maybe your body wants to move. There's no one way in which we can express these energies. So just being open. But you can also just lay back and receive. And so I'm just going to bring a little bit of the bowl in to just set some space for us. And let's breathe into our hearts, connecting into our divine consciousness, our oneness, into the true essence of our being. And let's expand our heart lights really, really, really vast. And just take some deep breaths and notice any part of your body that feels constricted or contracted. And just imagine everything flowing, everything easy. And I'm feeling that it might be helpful to open your chest up and even raise your palms to indicate that you are open to receive this activation of awakening light language within you. And I also find it helpful to be intentional with connecting into the earth, so that your body is this beautiful conduit connecting to everything above in the cosmos, everything within you, in your physical body, and then taking that down into the earth's energy body. So we might just feel the communion of your body and the infinite, and your body communing with the physical and the beautiful energy of Mother Earth. And you as this clear channel, this conduit, So now we'll bring in the codes. You may want to also invite in your guides, your team, your beings of light, your family, soul tribe, to be with you to assist in this receiving. Koresho korsa kunakia tohre epahar kurkieta rieto to korapa ado sonorieta di karahana koroshaya kietohre e koroshanam korashia tere sataria rekia. Hiokora hieto nore eso koara shore kiato noroya shumaka are shera hriso to haya kia hariki. Horeheto no yasha ko arasha to nama arashi ki te osa ahara kia to orokiati enamere ki to riti kari shukwa. There's just some energy clearing from our bodies, especially in the heart and the solar plexus. E korash te kore ni e kore e te ria shoto orapa ara soto ria kia te la hare e tohre e kanamiri ki. Bokorasho kore ni e karaso tora autunaria tere lahri ki koro kwa. And we're bringing in the power of the sun and the great central sun into our abdomens. So we're lighting up, we're turning on the lights, we're unlocking these gifts and codes within us. We're bringing online our DNA to connect in this capacity, to be that clearer connection and bringing it into form and into physical. Te kore apacho sho kore ito kore atariete de more upare soto ruti te laki. Ore hata la hare ito do ora kataria shoto no kore poru ko sana maka shore shayere shokore shakia. And now in the throat, just opening up the throat energy. And here's where it might be helpful if you feel like you want to make some sound. You could even just hum or do some ohms or whatever sound wants to come through just to really activate the throat. Isho todo ora pakares te trohrete de moroko raparas te de edohre etakara kosonoro yati lahre etanariki. Anaya o ayotoma hiato ahia o muaroso talore. Quando rete te toroso, malarete laki. Now we're just clearing a little bit in the third eye to just be able to expand our consciousness, elevating our consciousness beyond just this physical reality, allowing us to transverse into the subtle realms so we can communicate and commune. Ko baraste te de korepete lakri ete e koru osa te lakri etanama e ta la hare e toto kora apa hora e shokoro so naria ta la ki te la hau o koara sa. Just bringing a little more of our, this is a heart bowl. So take some breaths into the heart space now, allowing all this to be infused with love, divine love and light, just turning on in your heart. He kora pare shakora etahri etkhuri nemere sokora hayete lahri etanahuro kurasa taria nemere shotor piati ati atukwa. E korea kanare eta yasho nomoso teriati ariaki koraki delaha. Alright, so we're just taking some nice big breaths here. And what I was just being shown is like we're plucking the chords of like a guitar or a string instrument, where we're now like toning the vibration. So it's like we're tuning the instrument of our bodies to be able to reverberate this sound through us. So again, if you want to just play with a little bit of toning or speaking, it might sound like you're making it up, or you're, interfering or just making weird noises or words, and just let it be fun. Like use your imagination like you were a little kid, just singing some gibberish or sounding some words, and just let that come out for a little bit here. And I'm going to continue to bring in a little bit more, but go ahead and let's layer this with your sound, your unique blueprint. Korapareto no korea shoro soro korearia diada yanamorokwa. Etoreta na reke torbaria sotoriati. Wana me quaere shoro satia kia. Kotalareto no morobana kia taria quara shoka. And so know that your voice, the sound that emanates from your body, is your unique blueprint. That is much like your fingerprint. There is no one voice alike. And the sound that emanates from you, from your body and your voice, is uniquely designed for you. So in allowing these sounds and light language to come through, you are your own healer. You are empowered to bring your intentions with the sounds and the light language for your own evolution, for clearing trauma, for letting go of emotions, for activating your DNA and up-leveling your consciousness, and all the other intentions that you can think of. You can bring your beautiful, unique voice and feel empowered to be that self-healer, to master your own divine unfolding of your path. So thank you so much for receiving this activation. Thank you, Loren. And I would also, if you feel inclined to listen to that more than once, you could, to just, the light language works in layers. It can keep accessing different layers. So thank you.
Thank you. We can certainly feel the vibration of the light language in the body. It was palpable. And our expression, as we bring it forward, some would ask, do you have to understand what it is that you're speaking? Will that come later?
Yes and yes, or yes, no, and yes. So half the time I don't understand, because, most of what comes through is beyond mental comprehension. What happens for me is I'll get impressions of where the energy moves and flows. And so when we were doing the activation, I was feeling all the energy in the solar plexus, and then I would feel it move into the heart, and it kind of moves around. And I'm I'm much of a physical empath. So that's how that feedback comes through me. And then sometimes I'll get messages. Um, some other people really get more specific translations. And I would say mine gets more impressions. But is it necessary to understand it? I don't think so, because I think we can just receive it at such that deep cellular DNA level that even to try to comprehend it in its entirety is probably impossible for our little ego brains to do, you know? Um, and I lost your other question. You had, there was two parts.
No, I would suppose that as we do this, it's like a muscle that we're flexing and it gets stronger.
Yes.
Those impressions of what might be a message will come to us the more that we practice and bring it forward.
Right. And like I said, it's always different. You know, the energies that come through are so different. And the one thing I would also share about that is I could, you know, I've done light language for, you know, groups of 20 people, and then we'll go around and share, and everyone has a very unique interpretation. And so it's, I always feel like even though I might be sharing it for a group, it gets focused on the individual people. And everyone has these very different experiences. And somebody gets this message and somebody gets this message. Somebody hears a lot of male voice when I'm doing it. And then somebody hears more of like a feminine. And so, but to me, you know, I mean, like if you were to record it, it sounds the same. But I think as we were saying earlier, with practice and with building the muscle and with you know, staying in that space of allowance, I feel like, I don't, this may not be the best word, but I feel like it upgrades. I feel like we have access to higher frequencies to kind of expand beyond. Like I feel like when I started this a few years ago, I was in kindergarten or preschool, and now maybe I'm in middle school. You know, I feel, and I feel like it's growing for me too. Like I feel like there's an evolution that's still unfolding within me.
Yes. Well, I wanted to just say that the singing was beautiful,
Oh, thank you.
very authentic, and every song, let's call it, sounded different, like a different language, and feeling the beauty in that, feeling the frequencies in that is beautiful. It reminds me to ask about the group in Texas when you started this, right? So here you are in a rather conservative area. How did they respond to it?
It was a lot of like, we don't really know what this is, but we like the way we felt, so we're going to come back. And um I probably, you know, the group stayed, I would say, pretty intimate. We probably had no more than 20 people. Oh, my space didn't hold a whole lot more than that. So, but I think there was a lot of um curiosity. You know, there wasn't this like, oh, this is too weird and I'm out, you know. But a lot of curiosity. And then again, like everybody just started to, when I think once you hear it so consistently, it just starts to turn on. Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful because you were really activating those who have a cellular memory of doing it in a past lifetime, perhaps even Lemuria or Atlantis and
Yes.
other ancient civilizations. So, good job on awakening the remembrance in those who are ready for it.
Yes.
So,
So much
one thing,
remembrance.
yeah, one thing that we know is this: there's a fear. Some have a fear, including myself. Here, it's really very interesting in my own journey to see where I'm scared to speak up. And this is commonplace. What are your thoughts on those who are not ready to express their voice? Why is that?
Well, I think we have generations and eons of programming and trauma and karmic residue from other lifetimes where it was shut down. And, even though we're really moving into this new earth energy, for me, there's still some things that I thought I had already dealt with past life that have been cropping up lately. And so for a lot of us, especially with the voice, where we've been healers or where we were expressing our authentic self, even if it wasn't with sound, right? Because so much of that expression is just, the creation of like, oh, here I am and how I'm expressing myself. And, how many of us were burned at the stake or, watched a collapse of a civilization. And I think so many of us that are, probably watching your show have been in Lemuria, Atlantis, and Egypt, and have been in these golden ages where there was the decline. And so there's, I think, there's just so many imprints of these lower energies that we still have. And then we still have the societal conditioning, as children of, don't be so loud. Like, like there's so much, think about our education system. And so to me, how I perceive it when I just kind of see it in my mind's eye is we've just got all these layers of like, don't do that. Essentially, that's danger, that's fear. You're going to, expose yourself to attack. And
Yeah.
so, we're having to unravel so much of that. I worked, so when this started to come out, I actually hired a voice coach to help me through. So even though I was doing my weekly healing circle, I was still butting up against stuff. Like my throat would close down. And
Mhm.
so it was just a massive layers of things that needed to dissolve so that I could do this more freely. And it's funny, it's interesting. Like I was telling a colleague today about our interview, and now doing light language and singing, if you this is why I couldn't be on your show earlier when you invited me, because I don't think I could have done it. Like I was still working through so much fear. And
Yeah.
so, what's happening too is that if we're allowing ourselves to even just bring through tones or humming or, just some kind of vocal expression, it's going to start to clear the density out. Right. And,
Yeah.
and as we know, as we've been moving forward on this path, that anything that's too heavy, it's going to show it. It's going to show it to us. Like, oh, look, there's some still trauma or some programs that aren't in alignment with your
Yeah.
light body self. So we're going to truck it all up and dig it up.
Yes. Okay. I'd love to share an example of my own personal story because I think it speaks exactly to what you're saying. And for me, I've always loved singing. As a little girl, I thought I would grow up to be a singer
Me too.
until I heard myself on a tape recorder. And I realized, wow, I'm not as good as I think I was. But that was me judging myself and also allowing others to judge me. But since the past, this year, I've been taking singing lessons because I love to sing, but my family says, please don't sing. So I did the singing lessons and
Mhm.
I'm in the singing lessons and I was scared to do the singing lessons. But here's what I discovered. And it was separate. I had another experience when I began toning, and that was a remembrance of doing this in Lemuria and seeing how I judged myself, and I've been judging myself in so many past lifetimes. But the singing, I would sing either very high or down low, really low. And when I would use my mid range, like this voice, speaking voice, I would cry as I would sing. And I'd be with my voice coach going, what is happening? Why am I crying? I can't even sing that song. And I had rushes of memories of singing to the babies, singing to children, and actually being shut down for singing like this. So isn't that so amazing that here we are so many lifetimes later
Yes.
and I'm still working through it. But the fact that I was just able to sing and to feel those tears come through while I was singing, it was pretty much painless. I just felt the love of using the voice to sing in such a beautiful way. I saw instantly how I judged it. So that in itself was very healing. And wow, I mean, I'm still working on singing, but my
Yeah.
family says, okay, you're better. So this is our journey, but isn't
Yeah.
that just amazing?
It is. And it's such a beautiful experience. And for you to have that recollection, because I really, my sense is we used in Lemuria and other places, we use sound for like high technology kind of things, like lifting stones. Like they still don't know how the pyramids are built, right? Like in terms of the weight. So, and the scientists are just catching up with how sound can move objects. So I mean, we're just scratching the surface.
We
And
are.
I'm not the science. I don't, I like to play with it, but that's not how I teach or I share, because for me it's like what you're experiencing as you're clearing that with knowing that your voice needed to be free. Like that's so powerful, right? That's such you embodying your power. And then how that is going to show up, whether you're singing or in your in your service work here. Like it's more of you coming online and awakening. And I think sound is such an instrumental, no pun intended. Sound is such an instrumental part of that for us, because
Yes.
so much of we've shut down so many levels and layers of that because of the judgments or the fears or whatever. I mean, there's been
Yes.
we've been through a lot,
We've
Lorette.
been through lifetimes of it. And
Yeah.
so, one thing that I remember is that we used sound for love. We absolutely used it for love. And we heard that through your light language singing. We can hear the energy of love. And that's what I'd like to illustrate in this episode is that it's all for love. And what I'd like to share too is that you work with people to help them express. You, let's call you a voice coach, a light language coach, and you help activate people into these skills. Again, no matter what medium, whether it's toning or singing or the movement or dance or art, it's
Mhm.
absolutely wonderful. And as we bring on these skills and as we do this, we can use these as healing modalities.
Yeah.
Literally, these unique skills are coming to be shared with the world like you have shared your skills. And that's really important because this is a new industry. And science, by the way, is only beginning to prove what sound does for the brain and all
Yes.
of it. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think that we're going to be really amazed with all the effects that sound has that, we're just barely understanding.
Yes. So tell us about your course. We are looking forward to this because this is an in-depth session where 5 sessions with you. How long are they? What happens in these?
So, yeah, it's 5 weeks, and I essentially have a lot of different ways for people to play with the content. I have an online learning platform where I have a lot of light language tracks and meditations to clear a lot of the stuff that you just talked about, right? So all the things where we're fear of being our authentic self, fear of expressing sound, fear of even just, being a unique, perfect expression of you. And then we've got every week we meet on Zoom to have some practice and some play. And then I also have a private Facebook group where we can partner up so people can interact with each other if they want. But I include a lot of practices because the actually doing this is so simple, but it's actually doing it, and then having a safe platform and a safe container where you have people just like you who may have not wanted to play with their voices before or didn't know that it could be a thing. So I taught this course last year in a little bit of a different format. And we were working on other things, and I had about 12, 14 students. And it was beautiful because it was during quarantine. So we got to hang out for a lot of the year online as I was teaching this course. And they were all like dreading the sound healing portion, you know. And then as soon as we began and they just did it, and you know, even though there was some maybe anticipation or anxiety or nervousness or shyness, they loved it. Like, and it was eye-opening, and it turned on light language, it turned on, you know, the ability to sound heal. So you'll have interaction each week. Every week we meet online. Then I also tend to do like a Facebook Live, and that's just kind of like in the private Facebook group where like I'm just tuning in, like what's in the energy for the group right now. Like, are we hitting some walls? Do we need to turn it up? Do we, you know, do some DNA activation? And I just kind of feel into the group. And then I'll, you know, it could be something conversational, or it could be some content. So I like to layer it. So I've got, you know, video content, audio content, light language, interactive, and Facebook Live, and then the community. So, and then the cool thing is that if you're unable to make the lives, everything is recorded. All the content is captured, and it's all in the online platform. So you can self-pace. So if it's not conducive for your schedule, you can always go back and listen, and you'll be able to download the written material and download the light languages and the meditations. So I've tried to make it very comprehensive and interactive, because I don't know, like if you ever take an online course, for me, I need a little bit of interaction, like versus just doing it self-paced. And so
All right. Well, we invite our viewers and listeners to check out this webpage. All of those items in that special offer are available. I wanted to say as well that, you know, we can use these light languages for other areas of our life. For an example, you've got light language abundance blessings, and everyone loves abundance blessings. And so
everybody loves
even
abundance.
yes, and so no matter where people are, how deeply they want to work with these, those are each options that everyone can use. But we want to invite people to take that course with you, because again, when we learn these skills and open up to them and bring them online, they are to be shared with the world. And this is how we do New Earth. We create New Earth. And you know, like you said, our heart knows the way. Light language is heart based. And
Yes.
so our ego mind, or just our thinking mind, may not have a clue as to what is being said, but our heart knows, and other people's heart knows. And that's the activation right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I've always been all about empowering people. You know, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients in sessions and things, and I'm always wanting to empower people so that they can do it themselves. Like I could say, oh, well, you could just come to me and I'll do light language tracks for you, or sound healing tracks for you about this intention, or you want to shift this in your life or heal this in your body. Or you could do it yourself and have this beautiful gift that is always yours. And it's powerful. My favorite really immediate quick thing that happened, and this is a quick story, is I had twisted my ankle. I had walked out of a class and I had put all my weight down, you know, when it twists, and I was like, uh-oh, because, you know, I went down and I was in pain. So I was leaving, I was walking to my car. So I get in my car, it was my left foot. So I was able to drive home. And I thought, you know, I'm just going to, I think I did both toning and light language. And I just asked that my foot repair itself, restore to its, you know, divine, perfect condition. And I spent about 15 minutes doing that while I was driving home. And I got out of my car and there was nothing, like not a single iota of pain. And I've done that before where like it takes a couple days for your foot to recover when you, so I mean, how cool to just be able to say, oh, well, I don't have to go to the doctor. I can just tone to my ankle.
Absolutely. You were shifting reality with that presence of high vibrational frequencies. And actually, Dr. Norm Shealy has measured this. He's measured other healers and toning, and it's actually scalar energy, and that's divine. So we can do this for ourselves and we can heal. I know personally, I when I had my awakening memories of Lemuria toning session and my animals came bouncing down into the room, that very happy and invigorated as well. Then
Yeah.
I got into my car and I continued it. And the reality shift, I could have been in a situation where there was 100 motorcycles ahead of me going to a national park, and I get to the gate at the national park and there's the 100 motorcycles. I thought I was going to be at the end of the line, but I had been toning and singing and was in a really good mood, a different mood than being judgmental or worried. And suddenly they were happy. Everyone was saying hello and waving. And suddenly they opened up the line and me and a few other cars could go through. And I was like, that's a reality shift. So we can shift realities. But
Yes.
another example I want to share, and maybe you've got stories of this too, is emotions, sad emotions. We were saying if we're frustrated or saddened by what we see happening in the environment,
Yeah.
toning allows us to shift it and really physically move that energy out of our body. Isn't
Yes.
that interesting?
It's fascinating. And I have another quick one on that is we were on a plane coming back from Sedona, and I just wrapped up this beautiful retreat. So we're all on this like majestic high, and the captain comes on the speaker and says, well, we're heading into a storm. We hope we're going to get you through it. Like not even like literally saying we're going to do our best to make sure you land. So anyhow, it didn't bother me. I've flown a lot in my life. And so we're just, hanging out. And then maybe about 20 minutes later, the turbulence starts. And then it really, like I've been in turbulence. This was beyond, I literally thought the plane was going down, like, because it was, I guess we were hitting pockets and we would plummet. And then we would be like, if you didn't have your seatbelt, you would be hitting your head on top of the thing. So people are screaming and everyone's panicking. And so I started to panic because you think your plane is going down and you're going to die. And then my business partner and I just started doing light language. And it was like somebody just took a blanket and put it over you. And I was like, okay. Like, and it was almost like, even if I die, it's okay. Like it was just peace. And it was like that. It went from terror, panic, oh my God, we're going to die, to peace and calm, even if we die. And so that was so immediate and such a big shift.
Wonderful. And it's confirmation of the power of this language of love. It truly is a language of love. And it
Mm-hmm.
brings us into such a present space in this now moment.
Yes. Yes.
And
That
so
is
you
another huge
shifted it.
benefit. Yes.
Yes. And so you shifted it right there. And we love those stories. Next time, when the pilot comes on and says turbulence, do that before.
Do that before you think your plane's going down.
Then you don't have to have the turbulence. That works too.
There you
So
go.
beautiful. Well, we thank you so much for having you here today. I'd like to give you a couple more moments to share anything that we didn't get to. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the beauty of this, or any experiences that people have witnessed in their lives because of it?
If I were to give you a key takeaway, is that your voice is important. And the download that I got about it being unique to your fingerprint kind of came from spirit saying, like, this is something that is a gift and we all have it. And that is why it's unique. There, I don't remember the exact words that I got, but it's that, of course, we're all energy and we're all vibrating and we're transmitting these different frequencies. And your voice is a representation of your unique frequency. And so, as it can be shared with others, it is equally as important to use it for yourself, whether it's to shift an emotion, to get present, to heal an ankle, to open your heart, to upgrade your DNA, to call in a relationship. The one thing we didn't talk a whole lot about today was manifesting with sound. And so we can shift and heal, but it's just, if we're calling something into creation and then we're bringing in our unique sound with it, that perfect blueprint is again like turning up the manifestation for you to call it in. So it can be really powerful in what you're wanting to attract. And so it's a gift for you, right? Like, so let's use it.
Okay, well, I can hear so many asking, oh, tell us how to do the manifesting. What's your protocol for um, whatever we wish to desire and create? Tell us that.
Well, I use a couple different methods, and I do go over these in the course. What I would say is use the manifesting technique that you like to do the most. Like start there, right? Start with what is already working for you. When I manifest, I like to put things in a bubble and I like to infuse it with the feelings and the emotions that I would be experiencing as if that were in fruition in this present moment. And then I fill the bubble up and then I bring the sound in, so I fill it with light, bring the sound in, and allow myself to just go on a journey with that. Envisioning, feeling, infusing the sound. And then I bring it into my heart like I'm planting a seed. And then that sound is like the water and the sunlight and, the fertilizer and the love. Like, I go out and talk to my garden. And so it's like that sound is like all those elements. And then we're bringing in the visualization, bringing in the emotions. But again, you can do this with whatever manifestation that you are working with. If you have something, just add the sound and let yourself flow with it, right? Because what it's doing, everything that we are manifesting is already, in creation somewhere in the quantum realm, right? And it's up to us to bring it into this physical form, right? That's why embodiment is so important and grounding is so important, because if we're going to manifest, we got to bring it here, right? It can exist out there all day long, but that's not going to do me any good because my consciousness is here in this body, in this present moment, and this physicality. So you can tell I get excited. So what the sound does is it brings it into form, into sound, right? It creates something more tangible where you can layer it with that. So to me, it helps to bring it into the body. It becomes more embodied versus just hanging out in, potential, right? In the potential fields.
We're going to leave our show today with a tone for New Earth. And so we'll set that up in just a moment.
Oh, I love that.
But and so viewers and listeners at home can add their tone as well. I want to first direct all of our viewers and listeners to work with Jen Cunnings and express your light language. What a beautiful guide to assist you in bringing forward your unique voice and your tone. Again, we invite everyone to check this out right here on this webpage. So let's do a tone for New Earth, for our New Earth vision. I know that everyone can feel it, we can see it, and we can hold it. So a tone here as we say goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for adding your tone to our new earth vision, our new earth reality. We are singing it into existence. And I want to say, Jen, when we started our show, I told you that that you felt very familiar to me. And I wondered, had we had a show in the past? We haven't, but I know we were in Lemuria together, toning our existence into being. So thank you.
Thank you. I feel that to be so true. My body just, shivered as it does when you get the confirmation chills. So good to see you again, sister.
Good to see you again. And I know we're joined with others who feel that same remembrance. So
Yes.
thank you to everyone for remembering our love. Thank you, Jen.
Thank
Namaste.
you so much. Namaste.